Hello everyone, I'm Extra Cheesy 87 and this is another installment of Let's Play Reflections. In this video we're going to go over the Let's Plays we did of Digimon Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory. We're going to do another not bonus, but double feature. I guess it's not another double feature because the Trails video is technically a triple feature. But yeah, so Hacker's Memory is ending in a couple of days as of I'm recording this. This is the video is going to go up very quickly after I'm recording it. Just a few days. I think the first bonus video goes up today, and I'm only doing 4 of them. And oh yeah, also, if you've only been watching the Digimon stuff, you may not be aware that I've got a new microphone. This is only the second video going out with this microphone. The only other video that's been published with it is the LP Reflections video on the Trails in the Sky trilogy. I've recorded some stuff with the new microphone. I've recorded a lot of videos, actually. I recorded a bunch yesterday, but none of those have been uploaded yet. They'll be coming out pretty soon, though. Let's go ahead and jump into the actual meat of the video. So we're going to start off talking about Cyber Sleuth, and then we'll transition into Hacker's Memory, which is what actually resulted in this video, is what the reason we're doing it. I don't know. I just figured I'd talk about Cyber Sleuth as well, because I never really got a chance to do this, because I didn't come up with this idea for this series until a few months ago. So, Cyber Sleuth is probably the most important game I've Let's Played in terms of what it meant for the channel. Either it or Trails in the Sky, the first one, since like the Trails series has become like a thing that I'm going to play through. It's become a big staple of the channel in the last year and a half, or almost 2 years now. But Digimon's another big staple of the channel, going all the way back to when I was originally doing videos, which is part of the reason why I played Cyber Sleuth. I remember when I didn't even actually know about these games until just a few years ago, actually. It was one of the first videos I got a comment on one of the first videos I published after returning from my hiatus, where someone was asking me if I was ever going to play the Digimon Story games, the Cyber Sleuth and Hacker's Memory, and I was like, I don't even know what you're talking about, dude. So I had to go like look it up on the interwebs, and then I'm like, oh, these actually seem like interesting, and apparently people really like them. But they were at the time only on PlayStation 4, or PlayStation 4 and Vita. I think Cyber Sleuth was originally a Vita game, and then Hacker's Memory was a native PS4 game. I can't really remember. So it was kind of like one of those things like, oh yeah, I'd like to play that, but, you know, I don't have a PlayStation 4 or a Vita, and I don't have a way to record them, even if I did own those. So it was kind of something that was just kind of pushed off, and the idea of playing, like, you know, my only real prospects of ever touching Digimon on the channel again were maybe to do re-Let's Plays of Dusk and World DS, maybe. Or if, you know, new stuff came out. Like, I think by that time Survive had been announced as getting like that it was going to be like multi-platform, and so I'd kind of planned on playing it. Granted, I'm still planning on playing it. We'll talk about that, what we're going to do regarding that game a little bit at the end of the video. Essentially, if it ever comes out, I'll play it, and I'll try and play it on release. Whether or not I'm able to play it like actually on day of release, but there'll definitely be videos on it very soon after it comes out, assuming it comes out. Which is a little up in the air, since it's been delayed like so many times, and it still, as far as I know, has a very nebulous release date. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, but eventually, I guess, probably a few months before the ports came out, or the PC and Switch port, you know, I played on PC, but it was also, you know, I think pretty popular on the Switch. I know a lot of people, I mean, it's a good game for the Switch, and plus the Switch is just super popular, has sold really well. But, you know, I remember seeing a Reddit thread about it, and I was like, oh man, that's something I can do. And I'd kind of been planning on, like, Cyber Sleuth was this game that, like, I built up. It's like, oh man, this is a good chance. You know, it's a series that, I kind of built the channel on, so to speak, or like a franchise that I built the channel on. Because the Digimon stuff just always happened to be the most successful things I did back in the day, mainly just because of a timing thing. Despite the Dusk Let's Play being just, like, objectionably awful quality, it was, I think it's like the second full Let's Play of that game on YouTube, or it was the second full Let's Play of the game on YouTube. So, just by virtue of there not being much to pick from, it got a lot of momentum when those videos first came out. And it's still, like, my most successful series, like, by far. Which is, I mean, it's not good, because those videos are just truly, truly awful. Not just from, like, a quality standpoint, but, like, the commentary and everything is, like, by modern standards. I mean, there's maybe some, I mean, I can't watch the videos, honestly. So maybe there's some charm to them that I don't appreciate, but, that's kind of a topic for another time. But basically, kind of built up Cyber Sleuth, and it did way beyond my expectations, you know? I was able to get a video out, technically not on release day. I'm trying to remember, because I think it was supposed to come out, because I got the video out on the 18th. But at that time, there still weren't, like, any other video, like, Let's Play style. I think there was only, like, one or two others out on the Complete Edition. And so there was still, like, a lot of, like, not a lot, but, you know, compared to what it would have been prior to the Complete Edition coming out, there was a lot more, like, interest in the games. And plus, I think Cyber Sleuth, or these ports, or re-releases, whatever you want to call them, I think they got a lot more attention just due to the ongoing, discontent in the Pokemon community, which is also, you know, obviously the franchises are pretty, they're very different, but they're considered similar, right? Like from the outside lens, they're always commonly talked about in relation to each other. I mean, they are similar, but they're also very different. So, but you know, basically, there was a contingent of people who were, myself included, who were upset with the direction of the Pokemon franchise. You know, particularly Sword and Shield just being garbage. Well, I didn't play them, so I can't say they're garbage, but everything I saw about them made them seem garbage. And so a lot of those, like, a lot of, like, word of mouth praise for the Cyber Sleuth games. So I know a lot of people like got introduced to them because of that, because there was a lot of like, I know on the Pokemon subreddit, I saw the games mentioned a lot as, like, here's an alternative to the direction that the Pokemon franchise is going. So I think they got a bit of it was a bit of a bigger release than what it probably would have been otherwise. Just a little bit. I'm not saying it played, like, a huge role or anything, but I think it played a noticeable effect. But all this is basically just to say that the series did really well. It's still, like, one of my only, like, quote-unquote evergreen videos that still gets, like, new people watching it every day consistently. And I think it's just because I happen to be, like, one of the first videos to release on the Complete Edition, it's got really good search rankings. I actually looked again today. Because it's like, if you just search for, just Digimon Cyber Sleuth Complete Edition, not even Let's Play, like, the third result is the playlist of the Let's Play. And I think if you search Cyber Sleuth, like, not the Complete Edition, it's still on the front page, so it just happens to, the algorithm pushes my videos, and that's why they're successful. They're not necessarily all that good. Cyber Sleuth has got some definite problems with it, especially from, like, more from a technical aspect. I think the commentary and everything is fine. But it has awful audio balancing, which is kind of an issue. I don't know if I've ever actually talked about this before, but for, like, a long time I had this weird issue that I never really recognized, where my editing software was artificially quieter than everything else on my computer. Like, somewhere, like, in a weird Windows setting in the sound settings, it was setting my editing software to be at, like, 65% volume. So whenever I would listen to stuff in... Oh, no, I think it was the opposite, where it was set to be way higher. I think it was, like, set at 65 out of 100, and my, like, typical audio settings for, like, my headphones is, like, in the 20s. Like, I generally hover at, like, 24 out of 100. So it was, like, almost, like, over twice as loud. So I would always, like, bump down the sound of the videos when I would listen to them in the editing software, because it seemed like it was loud as shit. But then when it actually would get ported to YouTube, it would be super quiet, because it's not being artificially bumped up. So that's why those videos are all so quiet. And because I never watch my videos on YouTube, Usually I'll just, if I want to skim through a video, I'll just look at the raw file, or whenever I'm editing it. Like, I don't really watch my own videos for the most part, like not in their entirety. I might skim through important ones every once in a while, but it's rare for me to actually watch my own stuff on YouTube, so that was just an issue that just completely flew under the radar for like the longest time. Like, I mean, pretty much that whole entire Let's Play has like really bad like audio balancing, in addition to just the low quality from the mic I was using. So that's just kind of like an example of, I think all of my most successful series are simply just due to timing and being at the right place at the right time. They have nothing to do with the actual quality of the Let's Plays themselves, which, I mean, that's basically just how YouTube goes in general. Quality is important, but it's not everything. What else is there? I guess we could actually, I think I'm pretty much done talking about the Let's Plays aspect of Cyber Sleuth. Oh yeah, one other thing I have some actual, I don't have a script for these videos, but I do like to have talking points to kind of guide me through them, or like bullet points. Another kind of important thing about Cyber Sleuth is that it wasn't really the first step to me uploading more videos. Really, I think the first series that made me start uploading more was like Trails in the Sky, the first one, just because that Let's Play was long and I wanted to kind of not get it over with, but I felt like it was going to drag on forever if I didn't do like more videos of it. Because like originally my upload schedule was like only 2 videos of that series a week, and I ended up upping that to 4. And then when Cyber Sleuth came out, it was popular enough, or like there was enough of a demand for the content, I actually felt like I could upload daily videos for it. And so that was the first series I ever started uploading daily like that, of doing like 7 videos a week. Or I guess was it just 6? I don't know if I did 6 or 7 videos a week. I may not have uploaded videos on Saturday, because I was still doing the Saturday slot LPs. I don't actually remember. But, I was doing way more videos a week of Cyber Sleuth. And, now, as we sit right now, I'm pretty much doing 1 video of each series a day, which is, I don't know. I mean, I like it, because it lets me finish Let's Plays faster. And right now, since I'm still unemployed, I'm unemployed, but I'm also, like, not seeking a job. I'm just kind of, like, waiting to start grad school at this point. But, I forgot what I was going to say. But basically, like, Cyber Sleuth was kind of important for me uploading more videos. Because it was, like, the first series that, like, people were actually, like, watching. Like, more than just, like, one person was watching the videos when they went up. It was, like, a really cool experience that I hadn't, I don't want to use the word experience again, but I can't think of... But it was a cool experience that I hadn't experienced in a long time, like, basically since I was originally doing Let's Plays. So as for Cyber Sleuth itself, I don't have as much to say about it. I feel like I have more to talk about Hacker's Memory in regards to the game themselves. But I did really like Cyber. I was like impressed by it. Like, I went into it with like not necessarily high expectations, but I didn't have low expectations either. Like, I heard the game was good, I expected it to be good, and it was pretty much great. I really like the combat system. One of the things I really loved about Cyber Sleuth was filling out the field guide, especially as someone who, like, isn't super well versed in a lot of the Digimon, and just because, like, Digimon branch, like, the evolutions in general they're not consistent, right? Sometimes, I mean, you have some things that, like, will always, you have, like, some of your Digivolution lines are set in stone, and some are a little bit more, they can vary. So it was a lot of fun. Like, it was kind of like, I think I referred to them as, like, little loot boxes, where you're like, sometimes I straight up would never know what things would evolve into. And it was a kind of a lot of fun actually filling out the field guide, just due to those continual surprises. And then when you actually did get new Digimon, they actually felt kind of unique, because they all had a special skill, a special passive, personalized animations, either their special attack animation, your walking around animations, your post-battle animations that made, like, I felt like I would use Digimon that, like, I wouldn't normally have used, just because it kind of felt cool to use them, There was like a level of personal touch that I feel like, for example, Pokemon has really started to lack. So that was something I really enjoyed. The story's kind of slow at the start. Like, honestly, I don't even really remember what happens for like everything prior to Under. I mean, I kind of know what happened. I mean, I remember what happens, but really, it's not until Under Zero that things really pick up. And I really did enjoy the whole Royal Knight thing and the like them invading because they need to like purge humanity because humanity's causing problems in the digital world, like their existence. Now, at the time, I didn't realize that that's kind of a plot point that's just taken from the Data Squad anime, because I had never watched it, prior to that point. I didn't watch it until after I actually beat Cyber Sleuth. So, technically, that's kind of like a reused plot point, but since it was my first time seeing it, I still thought it was really cool. So I think I enjoyed the story of Cyber Sleuth a little bit more. And someone who was like a really dedicated fan of the series, who was like had seen Data Squad or some of the other like adaptations or some of the other media in the franchise as a whole. Trying to think anything else before. Well, I guess we can talk a little bit about the post game. Yeah, because I really liked the post game. Actually, it was a lot of fun. The deadly Digimon battles were like coming up with like strategies for them, because like they felt like they were kind of gimmick fights, but they felt like well-designed gimmick fights for the most part. My only real complaint is that a lot of them just get bodied by Sistermon. Like, she's just too strong. And it's not even really that she's too strong, it's that like she's almost required for some of those fights. Like, you know, for example, like the Beelzemon fight, you have to have some sort of damage immunity. It doesn't necessarily have to be Sistermon for there. You can also use Craniamon or Justmon, but the way that fight's kind of designed is that you have to have damage immunity, which then I used Sistermon, and then after that I was like, oh, Sistermon's like actually the most broken character, and then just used her for all the other post-game fights. And most of them were a lot easier. The only one I really remember like struggling with was Balefamon, because he's kind of like you have to do a certain amount of damage quickly. I don't even really remember. I just remember that video took forever. It was like almost an hour long, because he just keeps healing, dude. I don't even remember how we actually beat him, but I know eventually we broke through and were able to do enough damage quickly enough. But yeah, a lot of the post game battles are really cool, and overall it was just a really fun experience, and it was a nice breath of fresh air for me, like coming from like the disgruntlement around Pokemon, with the way they handled like Sword and Shield. And really, it's not just Sword and Shield that was like a problem. It was basically Sun and Moon were really bad, and X and Y were. I like X and Y, but I don't really know why I like X and Y. Like on an objective level, they have kind of the same problems, but for some reason, I just like them. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. What time are we at? We're about 20. I wanted to try and keep this around 40 minutes, so about 20 minutes per video or per game, which is good. Now I did record a lot yesterday, so my voice is a little weak. It's not hoarse or anything. I think I sound pretty much the same, but I'm already kind of starting to feel a little vocal fatigue. I'm trying to decide if I want to take a bit of a break before we segue into Hacker's Memory. So I think we'll just take some water, and we'll push on into Hacker's Memory. The Hacker's Memory, we started a little bit, I guess it was about a what? I'm looking at the recording dates here. About a 5-month, well, I guess it was about a 6-month gap after finishing Cyber Sleuth. You know, something I actually kind of thought about doing, was doing Hacker's Memory and Cyber Sleuth at the same time, like playing them both simultaneously. Because a part of it was just more of to capitalize on the extra attention on the games, like when the complete edition came out. Now I ended up deciding that was a little unfeasible, like that was too much videos for me to record back then. Like I was still, you know, in college and everything, so it would have been a lot more time to invest. And plus, it would have just been a little weird trying to play them at the same time. But it probably would have Hacker's Memory would have performed better if it had been the Let's Play had been started right after the complete edition came out compared to 6 months later. But it also does help that it lets me kind of keep some Digimon content on the channel long term. Because the problem with, like, even though the franchise generally does really well on my channel, there's not that many games in the series that I really like. Mainly just because, well, you know, I haven't played all the DS games, but I think the only other ones on there are, for the DS, are, like, not translated. I know one of them was, like, had a fan translation that was making progress. I don't know if that ever got finished or not. I think there's a few for the DS that were never officially released in English. And then there's, like, Championship, which I didn't like, and then there's, like, the World games for the PlayStation that I also just don't like. So, like, can't really play those. So it's, like, one of those things where Digimon, it's like something I have to space out, where it's like, I would like to play more of it on the channel, just because it does well, and I enjoy the games, but there's not that many that I really like, to be honest. Or that are, like, good Let's Play material, I guess is maybe a better way to put it. Yeah, that's kind of why we delayed Hacker's Memory for a little bit. And the Let's Play was kind of a little weird, like the way it was recorded. Because usually the way most of my Let's Plays work is that I blast through them pretty quickly and have a huge backlog. That happens for most games that I Let's Play. Hacker's Memory is a little bit weird because I recorded the first, like, I think 12 or 14 parts, like, maybe a month or so before the first video went up. And then I didn't record it for a long time because I got into Trails in the Sky 3. And then there was, like, 2 weeks where I couldn't record. And then Persona 4, the PC port came out, and I got lost in that game for, like, a little over 2 weeks. Basically just recording that, and didn't really record anything else, because I got, you know, I truly love that game. But then, you know, came back to it, started recording Digimon again, and then, but really had, like, a small backlog for, like, up until about part 50, the videos that would come out only a few days after I recorded them. But then I think about when I got to around, like, part 45, 50-ish was when I'd finished Persona 4 and I'd finished Trails 3, and so then it was just Digimon was the only thing I had left, so I recorded, like, part 50 to 70-ish or 77, however many there are, in, like, just, like, a couple weeks, or, like, a little over a week or so. Kind of blasted through it really quickly. One of the things I did, like, really enjoy about, like, Hacker's Memory, even though it essentially has, like, the same combat and everything, it was fun to be able to use all the Digimon that I didn't really use in Cyber Sleuth, like, being able to carry over the field guide and knowing exactly how to make all the various different Digimon that we didn't really use, and being able to scope those out, and kind of resulted in me doing a lot more side quests on screen, just because, well, I think the side quests in Hacker's Memory were a little bit better on average than in Cyber Sleuth, but it also gave me a chance to use all the Digimon. I felt like I could make them a little bit more interesting, because the main problem with, like, doing side quests generally was just, like, sometimes I don't have anything to talk about over random battles, and you never really want to be in that situation where you're just kind of sitting there silently, or just being like, okay, I guess we'll use our special. You know, like, when the battles are just kind of playing themselves, it's, it can be a little difficult. Now, I do kind of, like, I have a philosophy for random battles that, I'm not good at actually doing in the moment, but, like, my general idea for, like, how you should use random battles in a Let's Play of a JRPG, or any type of, like, turn-based game, is that that should be the period where you talk about the game itself and your thoughts, or, like, what's been going on, like, use that as an extended period for dialogue. And I did that a couple times in Hacker's Memory, like when we were doing Use Dungeon, prior to the Matador fight. And a couple other times, but a lot of, you know, times I just, like, I fall into the trap of being boring for random battles and just kind of saying what's happening on the screen, which is something that I do try and make I make a conscious effort to not do that, but it's also very easy to fall into that trap of just narrating what's happening on the screen. Overall, I found Hacker's Memory's story to be weaker than Cyber Sleuth. It's very unfocused compared to Cyber Sleuth, which is pretty well focused once you get past Under Zero, and when you get into the Royal Knights and opening the digital gate and everything. But what Hacker's Memory does excel at that Cyber Sleuth kind of well, not really fails, but doesn't do as good of a job, is, well, one second, let's get some water. Like, what Hacker's Memory exceeds at is character development. Or the thing that it does better than Cyber Sleuth is the characters are way more developed in Hacker's Memory, and in general just more interesting, which kind of makes up for the weaker story because you care more about the characters and you're more invested in the story because of that. An example of this kind of idea I use a lot is the idea that, my basic philosophy is that characters are more important than the actual story in media. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how unique or cool your story is, especially when it comes to long form stories like what you see in JRPGs, where if you don't care about the characters and you don't find the characters interesting and engaging, then you kind of start to not care about the story, or the story's emotional points won't have as much impact if you don't really care about what's happening to the people in the story. And an example I always use of this is Persona 3 and Persona 4, where if you were to poll people who had played both games, I think a slight majority would say Persona 3 has the better story than Persona 4. But generally Persona 4 is considered a lot better. Most people are... It's it and Persona 2 are usually considered the best games in the franchise. And Persona 4 is mainly just because the characters are extremely well developed compared to Persona 3. Where Persona 3, a lot of your characters are not fleshed out all that well, so even though it has the better direct narrative, since you don't care about the characters in that narrative as much, it just doesn't have that same emotional weight. Now, I'm kind of speaking for myself, mainly, but I have seen that opinion expressed a lot from other people who've played both of those games. So that's just kind of one example of that kind of idea there about characters being really important, which is something that I did enjoy in Hacker's Memory a lot. But one thing I do have to kind of talk about is how the narrative is really unfocused. So you have 3 major character arcs throughout the story, which is you, Ryuji, and Erika. Where Yu is kind of they're weird because they all feel like they could have been the focus of the game in and of themselves, but they all kind of clash with each other, is the way I would put it. I'm trying to think how to phrase this in the way that makes the most sense. Let's just talk about Ryuji's, for example. I think Ryuji's is the best example of this, where you've got a lot of build-up for the Ryuji and Arcadiamon thing. There's a lot of hints at Ryuji's inner turmoil, how he's still kind of traumatized by the raid at Under Zero that ended up with Jude being disbanded, and also just his own personal issues with his parents dying, Erika being injured, him having to kind of be the sole provider for this family now, even though he's still essentially a kid, or a young adult. And so when they do the Arcadiamon thing, you kind of feel like that's going to be the major capstone of the story, but then they just kind of cut it off, and then it's oh yeah, we got to wrap up Erika's character arc, and so then she takes over for the final chapter. And you never really get a satisfying conclusion to Ryuji's whole thing. His whole character arc with Arcadiamon and coming to terms with what happened to his family and everything. It's kind of the same for Yu, where Yu's storyline just kind of comes to an abrupt end in chapter 14 after the Matadormon fight that I despise and think is bad. it's not as bad as I thought it was because you can use the panic barriers, but I still think from a design standpoint, having a fight that is almost impossible to win without using a certain item when there's no way you can know that they're going to spam panic on you before the fight is not the greatest of design. I kind of talked about that in the Let's Play enough, so I don't need to really bring that up here again. But like, I mean, I really enjoy, like, I think of the 3 character arcs that I mentioned of Yu, Ryuji, and Erica, Yu was the one I enjoyed the most, just because I guess I felt it more relatable. Like, I kind of found that idea of, like, I mean, the idea of having like an unequal relationship isn't exactly unique, right? I mean, heartbreak, and you see it a lot in, like, the romantic context, but seeing that applied to, like, a platonic friendship was kind of neat, and something you don't really see all that often. Like, having this, like, this unequal relationship where you basically finds the main character, like, values the main character's friendship more than the main character values Yu's friendship, or that's how Yu perceives it as being, is something that I found really interesting, because you don't really see that explored that much in the context of friendships. I mean, you do see it a lot, like, in the romantic context. I mean, everyone's heard the term, like, friend zone before. Like, that's a very popular, like, like, I'm trying to think what word I want to use here. Accepted idea, you know? Whereas you don't see that, and I feel like that happens just as often in normal friendships, where the friendship means a lot more to one person in the party, or one person in the relationship, than it does to the other, and there's kind of this unequal, not really power balance, but unequal importance in that relationship, and seeing that applied to, like, with you and the main character, I thought was really neat. And then it's just really, because I feel like they should have just taken one of those character, like, arcs of you and, like, hit their relationship with the main character, or, like, maybe made Ryuji or Erica the focus of the story, instead of trying to do all 3, which kind of results in it being a little unfocused. I'm kind of just repeating myself now that I think about it. That's kind of one of the problems with doing, not writing a script. But writing a script would make these videos, I just wouldn't do them, to be honest. So, it's a little too much effort for me, in all honesty. Also, like, I kind of talked about this a little bit, but, like, the Arcadiamon thing didn't make any sense to me. Like, they never explain what Arcadiamon is, or where he's from, or why he does the things he does. I don't know if he's supposed to be, like, from another media. Like, maybe he's from something else, like, related in the Digimon franchise, and so that already explained him, and so he's just kind of like, we threw him in to this game. But I didn't really get the Arcadiamon thing at all. It didn't really make sense to me. Which is kind of, because I feel like he was supposed to be the big bad, and I felt like having Arcadiamon be the final boss would have been more interesting than basically just repeating the final boss of Cyber Sleuth, where you just fight. It's not the Mother Eater, but it's basically the Mother Eater. I don't know. I enjoyed the ending, but I think the actual setup for the final fight wasn't that good. It just felt like it was too close to Cyber Sleuth. But the actual ending with Erica, and, like, the way they closed off her character arc, I thought was really good. And that's kind of, like, I really feel like they should have maybe just focused on her, because they do focus on Erica and the main character's relationship a lot. But it's just like that there's kind of triple stories, and it's a little bit kind of like it's kind of another game I probably shouldn't really be talking about, but well, just because it's off topic. But Dragon Age 2 is an example of this, where you've got 3 different acts that try and tell 3 different stories when they really should have just picked one and stuck to that instead of trying to tell 3 stories badly. They should have just picked one and told it well. And that's kind of how I feel like Hacker's Memory did it here. Not to the same extent. I think Hacker's Memory does it better than Dragon Age 2. Just because Dragon Age 2 is, like, super unfocused and weird, and even though I like the game, it's bad. That's more of a topic for a much different time, though. Trying to think of anything else. I don't know if I really explained my thoughts on the Ryuji Erica U thing well at all, but hopefully you can kind of get what I mean. One thing I was a little disappointed in is like the post game's like way less involved in Hacker's Memory than it was in Cyber Sleuth. Like there just doesn't seem to be nearly as much to do. Like the Abyss server only takes probably less than an hour to do. The Grand Drachmon fight is really easy. That's really kind of all there is. I mean, you have the Masters Cup was a lot of fun, but technically that's not even like post game content. You could do that before beating the game. Granted, it's like the difficulties, obviously, it's the hardest thing in the game, I believe. Unless, I still don't know if there's like some post-game content I missed. The post-game videos haven't started going up yet. I assume if I did miss something like major, people will tell me, but as far as I know, there's just not that much in Hacker's Memory. But the Master Cup was a lot of fun. And that's also, I mean, my video I haven't edited it out yet, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be the longest video I've ever done. Like, even after I edit out, some of the stuff where I wasn't talking at all, I think it's still going to be like 90 minutes, which is crazy. But that was a lot of fun. But granted, I mean, I should have done the Master Cup in Cyber Sleuth. I just kind of forgot about it. But yeah, so even the thing I like the most about the post-game isn't technically unique to it, because I believe Cyber Sleuth also had a Master Cup that I just forgot to do when I Let's Played the game. And honestly, I guess that's about all I gotta say. As we wrap things up here, I'm trying to think if I can have anything else like to say in conclusion about both games. As a whole, they're both very good. Like from both a mechanical level and I mean the stories are good and interesting. And while I have a few problems with the way Hacker's Memory tells its story, I think as a whole, the three main stories it tries to tell with Ryu, Ryuji, and Erica are cool ideas, but I do kind of wish they had focused on maybe, honestly, if they just focused on just like Yu would have been cool, just focusing on Ryuji would have been good, or really just Ryuji and Erica. Like, I don't know. And it also kind of sucks that like Ryuji and Erica never really get like a scene together at the end of the game. It's because the ending's a little... I like the ending, but it's kind of depressing, right? Like how Erica just like ceases to exist in that reality, and like no one remembers her at all. But I do kind of like sad, melancholy endings like that, so it doesn't really bother me. But or if anything, I think that's kind of cool that it's not like a super happy ending. It's you know, things don't necessarily work out the way everyone would love for it to happen, but that's the way things go sometimes. As for future Digimon content on the channel, I'll play Survive when it comes out. If it comes out. It's still, like, I believe it still doesn't have, like, a concrete release date. I think it's still listed as coming out this year. Well, I know there was, like, something where I read about, probably been a few months ago, where, like, one magazine or publication in Japan reported that it was getting delayed again, but then the company was like, nah, we're not delaying it, but we're not going to tell you when it comes out. So it wasn't a super convincing denial of it being delayed again. If that ends up taking more than, say, like 6 months, like if it gets, if it does get to like an official release date that's more than 6 months away from like when I'm recording this, I'll probably actually just do a replay of Digimon Dusk. That was originally what I was going to do before Cyber Sleuth, before it got announced as being ported, and then I decided I was going to wait to do that for the Digimon content. But I do really want to do a re-let's play of Dusk and DS. Just because I haven't played this, I haven't played DS since, I mean, I Let's Played the game. And I haven't played Dusk, I guess, also since I Let's Played it. I did play Dawn. Well, I played the second half of Dawn when I first started Let's Playing again, but even that's been a long time ago, so I really wouldn't mind replaying those games again, and it would be cool to have a better, high-quality version of those games. Or, like, Let's Plays of those games on the channel, because The original ones I did are bad. Especially when judged in a modern context. I mean, standards were much lower back in 2012 than they are now, for good reason. Yeah, I pretty much, like, I can't talk anymore. My voice is kind of starting to go out after about 40 minutes of sustained talking, so we're going to go ahead and cut things off here. I don't know if I explained my thoughts well at all. I hope it made some modicum of sense. Overall, games are very good. We'll be playing more Digimon on the channel, as long as they'll put out games for me to play. I'm Extra Cheesy 87. Stay tuned for the next Let's Play, and bye, guys.